Okay, so what was that question? What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing? Do I have to press OK on this? Okay, I got
No,
it.
I think so, maybe. Um, no, this is just for fun because I was listening. Jason and Steve did Jason has his real judo thing and he does random videos on YouTube and they were bringing up like a list of the historical figures in judo and I guess Eve emailed them and was like, "Hey, what about the chicks?" I was I was more, in my mind, well, why are we relying on the men to document this stuff? So it's just for fun, and I think it'll be cool as a resource for younger athletes. Because I don't know about you, but when I was growing up doing judo, I really didn't, aside from like the Olympic team that came before, the previous, I didn't really know anything about the history of judo. Did you?
No. I mean,
Mm.
other than what you research yourself, you know what I mean, or are told, you know?
Yeah, especially for the females. So, okay, I didn't actually do proper introduction. I'm Lauren Mees, 2000 Olympian for judo. This is Charlee Minkin, 2004 Olympian and owner of Sanctuary BJJ Fitness. Charlee, provide a brief introduction of who you are and your accomplishments on and off the mat.
I on the mat, I'm a two-time world team member, 2004 Olympian, Pan American Games silver medalist, multiple national champion. Off the mat, I have my own gym. I've owned the Sanctuary Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Fitness with my husband for about 13 years now. We teach judo, jiu-jitsu, strength and conditioning, and that's about it.
Do you have a lot of judo practitioners come by when they're in the area?
A few black belts from Denver judo come. You remember Tracy Crawford?
Mhm.
She comes and lives at the gyms when before her knee surgery. She was doing judo, some jujitsu with us. Her husband Jason does judo with us and jujitsu sometimes. So sometimes from now and every now and then we get judo people that have come by black belts.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I was talking Skylar Cummings brought up Hillary as like her role model growing up,
Hmm.
So it's kind of funny to hear because it's our generation. And I told her how afraid I was of Hillary. And there's only two people that I was deathly afraid of when I was competing. It was you and Hillary. The only
Aw.
two, or even just to train with, because you guys were so intense and so strong. And it wasn't just about your strength, but you were versatile. There wasn't like a go-to fix for your judo, where it's like, if I just control this sleeve and I just sit at this angle, I'll be able to slip in. With you two, it was like, oh God, please.
Aw, that's a big compliment coming from you. You're amazing to train with. I love training with
No,
you
so
and
were
traveling
you.
with you.
So, and
Thank you.
just for context, Charlie and I kind of grew up. We competed as juniors against each other.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think I could ever beat you, and it was always so frustrating for me because I remember going to the junior turns like, is Charlie here? Is Charlie here? Yes, she's not here.
I know. Remember looking the day of or the day before when they listed and trying to see and pick out the people. You're like, are they on my side? Are they on my side? You know,
Yeah,
crazy.
at least I want to
Yeah,
get to like the final match with you. I don't want to have you in my first match.
yeah.
So like kind of exploring all these things. Do you think that there's a level of importance in documenting the history of women in the sport of judo, and just kind of elaborate, from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're doing is amazing. I've been following you on social media with the interviews you've been doing, and I think it's incredible. I think women's judo has been definitely um, a part of judo that's been lost and hasn't been given that much attention. Um, and I think it definitely needs to be noted and separated because women's judo, I mean, women are different from men, so it's they need to have their own recognition and be able to have their own voice, and not be just clumped up. And I think always from the beginning of time, or at least when I was competing, there was no like women or men. It was like we were all training together always. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it was like one team, right? So I think recognizing, the important people, the important women in judo that have paved the way for other, female judokas is important, like you're doing, and giving females a way to, have mentors and look up to people, I think is important.
Yeah, because some of the stories that I've heard from these individuals kind of blow my mind. thinking about even like way back in the 60s and the 70s and the things that they fought for. But the younger generation, like Skylar, the only disparity she sees is kind of synonymous with what we went through. There's not a lot of female bodies on the mat. Um, but the only thing, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but like the only disparity I remember from our generation, like in the late 90s and early 2000s, was seminars and stuff like that. Like nobody would really want to sign up to do a clinic with a female, but the men were getting clinics left and right. But that was again a smaller. I don't know. Do you feel like there's disparities that you encountered, or do you see there's a lot of positive change? What's your point of
Yeah,
view
I
on
agree with you on that. I attended like Jason Morris's camps, Steve Cohen's camps. There was no female camps to go to. So 100%. No zeros. Eight, no. Um, so, so yeah, I mean, it just didn't exist. You know what I mean? But it's like, you don't know what you're missing until you know what you're missing. You know what I mean? So it's like,
that?
it wasn't even, something to think about, and it really isn't until, I got heavily into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and um, there's like a heavy woman's like advocate for female Jiu Jitsu. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, people really separate female Jiu Jitsu from male Jiu Jitsu practitioners, And I really didn't realize the difference and how important it was to have those female bodies until you have like someone advocating for that. You know what I mean? Or that idea of it.
Mhm.
Like I feel like as a female judoka, especially our generation, how we grew up, it's like you didn't want to be noticed as a female judoka. It was like, I'm just as tough as a man. You know what I mean? So like I can do what men can do, but we are different. And as you get
Yeah.
older, you realize, there's a lot of differences, and not only like on the mat, but off the mat. It's everything's different in a way. A female body is different, and what it can take is very different than a man's body. And training with male bodies, really a female body takes way more beating, but you always were like mentally like, I'm just as tough, I can do what they can do, and so I feel like we kept our mouth shut, and we didn't have anyone advocating for us, you know what I mean, or wanting even that distinction, of separation.
Yeah.
So
Or there was a minimal amount of voices that were doing so, and because there wasn't a collective, like you mentioned
yeah,
that there was in BJJ, and there's definitely a big difference. Like even with cutting weight is
yes,
direct for us as women, and the men hop in the sauna for 2 hours. I'm like, I'm good, I'm done, I'm ready. Maybe I'll be here all day.
yeah, exactly. I mean,
So that,
and
go ahead.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say my dream come true would be to have like a one location where we could kind of rope in all of the older generation female Olympians and world championship team members, and even like, people that were kind of higher up on the junior ladders, or just women that were maybe in the top five, over the course of generations, to come together with one massive female training camp. For me, that would be amazing for the youth, not necessarily for us, because it'd probably be a pain when you're running a business and you're doing all these different things. But I think for the younger generation to see that camaraderie between all of us, because the memories that we had, like talking to you right now, just doesn't feel like it's been decades. We're still family.
No, I know. It's so true. I'm so happy to see your face too. But yeah, I mean, you make those connections, right? Like
Yeah.
through blood, sweat, and tears. And you and I traveled, we lived in two different states, but we were always together traveling and always together cutting weight. And like we suffered so much together. So it creates a bond right? That's like a bond, I think, greater than most people have their whole lives, right? With other people.
Absolutely. Because
So
it's
yeah.
a
And
cultural emergence too. Like I think Venezuela was one of our first teams together, when that guy from the stands threw a bottle at Christina's head,
yeah,
Christina Netzo's said.
yeah.
I'm going to interview because I think that she has a wonderful story herself as a
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
event.
Yeah. She's amazing. Yeah. And we all like banded together, right? But it's
Mhm.
like we didn't have that unified voice for females, right? That's like we never had that. So what you're trying to do, I think, is amazing. I think it's super important to create that for future generations for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And I can see that they all are already on that same wavelength, that they want to work together. I mean, we have our first female CEO of USA Judo, but we won't go on the USA Judo topic. We're focusing on females. I always ask this question about like sexual harassment. I think it's less prevalent now, but I think we're kind of made to be a little bit with a chip on our shoulder because of that culture I mean, like misogyny just exists and it's not really like, I'm not going to storm the streets, screaming, female power. Like, it's just not something like, I just think that it comes between us grouping together. But was there any, attempts or like of sexual harassment towards you? And if you don't want to answer it, I say this to everybody, you don't have to, because I think that there's some side where I learned from certain females, they had their own empowerment in that realm where they would almost like use the men the same way. Yeah,
Yeah.
where I'm going. So I don't want it to be like a victimization story, but just something that's an eye opener for the youth to be conscious of as they travel.
Yeah, I mean, nothing personally happened to me with sexual harassment. You hear of other teammates or other people from other teams happening. If it's hearsay, it's like I don't know. I haven't,
Right.
validated that or not. It's just and I think it's always, I feel like whenever there's a mix of male and female on teams together,
Yeah.
it's gonna, that's always gonna be there, And I think women are getting better in the last, 10, even 20 years with having a voice and speaking out against that. You're
Mm-hmm.
hearing a lot more incidents. I feel, I mean, um, it's evident. It's like they're in jujitsu, as well,
Yeah.
like anytime I think there's athletes together, there's going to be that always that risk,
Mm-hmm.
so I think making sure that, again, like I said, having a voice and making boundaries is a very important thing. And I think, it's more known with sexual harassment coming out in sports now. And so I think coaches are having to take like more trainings and, you know, behavioral trainings and all that stuff is helping with it. But I don't know how to like mitigate that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I think for us, we were just we knew who kind of gave you the creeps, and we would just
yes.
openly in public in front of other people be like, get the hell away from me, creeper. Like it wasn't, we didn't keep our mouth shuts in those incidences. But I think sometimes there's people who are a little bit more innocent or unaware of, what is being set up in front of them by those creepers, unless people just talk about it. So yeah, there's always that hearsay. I think it is
Yeah.
important to be conscious, like you said, for
Well,
sure.
and I think too, back, like, my sister and I talk about it, Davina, about,
I
I
miss her.
know. And we talk about times are so different than when we were traveling. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember running through the streets of Mexico in plastics, with by myself sometimes to cut weight, like in pretty scary areas, and a lot of times, my sister was with me traveling as well. And it would just be her and I together. But I mean, we were a lot of times by ourselves and put in really scary situations, and we took care of ourselves. I mean, you and I like travel, walking through really bad areas, trying to cut weight, doing things. I mean, all you focus on is making that weight and competing. So everything else is, thrown in the back. Your safety, everything, is secondary to that. And I feel like now, since there is more awareness of things, of situations that are put you in vulnerable places, I don't think athletes are doing the same thing when they travel. I'm pretty sure, no, when they travel now, the teams aren't just letting the girls go and cut weight,
Yeah.
running down the streets of Mexico,
Yeah, we threw caution to the wind quite a bit
Yeah,
in
so
our
so it's
generation.
like also we were put in, I think, more vulnerable situations where things could happen to us than maybe people are doing now, because there's more awareness going on of those situations now.
Yeah,
Whereas
100%.
before we weren't really aware of those situations and we just did things that we needed to do.
Hmm.
So hopefully, I mean, things are, more awareness creates, less ability for those things to happen. So hopefully it is, it's being reduced, like the amounts of sexual assault and um, I mean, even just females being taken advantage of.
That's
on and
evident
off the
though,
mat.
because the younger generation seems to be really like less affected by it when I talk to them. So, I mean, that's a positive thing. So, like we were touching upon the need for that oneness with females. What do you believe that female judokas can do to give each other a stronger domain and presence in the sport where we have a collective unity? Because I see BJJ has like girls and gis. There's so many different programs that they work on to create that atmosphere. So, what can judokas do?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Girls and Geese is something that's a good community builder, and it advocates for female athletes. Uh, the same thing, I mean, I think that judo could adopt something like that, um, as well as what you're doing. I think is really important, creating almost like a platform where women can come and take what they need. You know what I mean? They have resources. Um, they
Like an
have
encyclopedia. That's what I want is like a female encyclopedia for USA Judo and then extend it out to
exactly. So it's like you're creating a place exactly where people can come to, and I don't think that has existed. I mean, I don't know if it has, but I haven't ever heard of it. And so creating that place where, women can come and they can find those resources that they need to reach out to, if they need to. I think that's important to have. And you have to bring those females together also, so I think creating like, just all female practices is huge,
you seem to have that camaraderie at your club just with weight training and I saw a couple of your
yeah, I mean, it's weird. I think like we competed at such a high level, right?
yeah.
In judo. And it's almost like you can't help but be super competitive with each other. So it's like you look at everyone as okay, is this person going to try to take my spot away, right? So it's like that is going to create distance between us, right? Because we're both fighting for that same spot. And so are we going to really truly be friends, right? It's like you're friends with people below or above your weight class, but how many
Yeah.
times are you friends with people in the same weight class, right? I mean, there was no one I was friends with in my same weight class ever, because it was like that person, that's who I'm going to have to fight to take away my spot. And in judo, it's like that being that highly competitive, I think prevents bonding and relationships to occur. And one thing that I've
That with the
noticed,
women though. Time out. Why is that with the women though? Because I remember my brother and Justin Flores being like best buddies and partying together, and they fought each
totally,
other every single month. What's
totally,
up?
it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like, because we're different, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, we have to maybe keep that mental like block and toughness um, there 100% of the time. So and you never let your guard down. I mean, you're always, even traveling and competing against people, you never let your guard down. And if someone bumps up to your weight because they're not cutting weight, or bumps down, you're like, oh shit, it's on. You know what I mean? And this is not my friend. This person's not my friend anymore. Because
Yeah.
like and that's us. That's a very few percentage too that's competing on that high level that just doesn't. We don't let our guard down.
Yeah.
Whereas in jujitsu, it's a very different culture. One, there's not an Olympic team to make, right? Jiu-jitsu is not an Olympic sport. And so I don't know if that changes. I mean, there's, worlds and all that, but it's not anything like judo. The competition is not anything like judo, like because there's no tournaments like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, and I think that I always was shocked in jiu-jitsu when I first started, like, you have these jiu-jitsu athletes that are talking and hanging out right before their match. They go out there and fight each other, and then they come back and they're like best friends on social media, and like they're best friends in the gym. It's just crazy. And I'm like, how can you do that? I can't do that. I can't go out there and fight someone and then, you
Mhm.
know, get off the mat and they're my best friend again. Like you have to keep that
Yeah.
boundary. And so, it's just different. Like I find in jiu-jitsu, it's more of the girls, regardless of what weight they are or where they fight, they always build each other up in jiu-jitsu.
Mhm.
And in judo, it's not like that. Like we're focused on our goal and what we need to do to make our dream come true, right? Our goal happen. And part of that is keeping those boundaries. And I
Mhm.
don't know, I totally have noticed too, even when we were young, like the difference like of the guys. The guys can be friends and hang out,
Yeah.
and now, can they be more superficial? I don't know. Maybe it's just they're more superficial and they're
Yeah.
faking it. I don't know. But I always, as women, we never did that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, hopefully that changes over the course of the years. I think I mean, because you're going to fight people. They're going to be in your weight class and they're not going to be in your weight class. And you're going to be an adult and then you're not going to give a shit, you know? I mean, like, Sayaka and I went back and forth a lot. And I talked to her on the phone maybe like a year ago. And it's just so nice to hear her voice and talk to her and see that she was doing well in life. Um, I don't know.
well, but
It's,
is it like that? Is it like that because you guys are both retired?
yeah.
You know, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Was it a
I
learned
mean,
behavior though? Like, was somebody in, because I kind of feel as though, God love him, I love Avelio, but I kind of feel as though certain coaches created that culture a little bit where you can't be friends with that person too much because then you might have too much empathy on the mat for them or something like that.
totally,
Yeah,
totally.
it's
Like, is it learned or is it innate? You know what I mean? Is it,
yeah.
that's like something that I don't know. And I don't know where that comes from. Um, who knows? You know, I mean, I think like it would be great to have women more support each other and unify together, and advocate for each other. You know, I would think it would help women in general, no matter what you're in, and especially women's judo, obviously. Um, you know, I don't know. And I don't know also when you get older, like you realize women as a woman, I realize women are so important to have in your life. You know, it's um, you know, the group of women I have around me are my like very best friends, and they are my core group of people that I love them, you know, and it's very important to have female friends that you can relate to, and you know, it's like a village, right, of people that help you, especially when you have kids and you get older, and you guys are pulling and taking from each other and giving, and it's different than the dynamics in a male relationship, you know. So I don't know if it's just being young and you're only focused on one thing, um, you know, growing up, and then as you get older, you realize how important it is for women to advocate and come together, right? You know, who knows if it's a maturity thing.
Yeah, it might be, but hopefully the younger generation will figure it out. And it might just start with more national training camps that are female centered within the
Yeah.
sport. So before I go to my last question about what judo gave to you for your like own personal sense of empowerment, I just want to hear your favorite judo memory. Like it could be really funny or it could be serious or it could be two different memories, one funny, one serious.
Um, well, uh,
Hesitation much.
I mean, there's a lot of funny, you know, Lauren, there's a lot of funny
Yeah.
judo memories. I would say one of the crazy memories I was just talking to my friend about yesterday is at the Olympics, the 2004 Olympics, when we were warming up. I was cutting weight. We were warming up. We were doing our last judo workout before the first day of competition. And George Bush and Barbara Bush were walking around. And George Bush sees our gis, and he looks at us and he's like, "Hey, where can I get one of these? What can I get one of these?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, we'll find you a gi, like put it on and I'll kick your ass." And George Bush looks at, I was 23 years old. I mean, I still talk that way, but George Bush
Yeah.
looks at Barbara Bush and he's like, "Barbara, did you hear this young lady? She said she was going to kick my ass." And Barbara Bush comes to me and like puts her finger in my face and she says, "You better watch your mouth, young lady."
That's awesome.
So that's my most memorable moment at the Olympics.
Yeah. You should have
So
been like, welcome to female judokas, lady.
I
This is
know,
how we are.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Oh my
So
God,
I mean
that's
that,
priceless. That's
yeah. So I mean,
fantastic.
there's so many good memories, right? It's so hard to say. I mean, it
Yeah.
was we had so many crazy memories. Like I said, we weren't really supervised, even like as kids. I mean, I started
Yeah.
traveling internationally. My first junior world team was when I was 14 years old in Porto, Portugal. Traveling by myself with the team, and back then we were just, it's like sink or swim, right? Like you
Yeah.
had to do whatever you needed to do to make weight, to fight. You
Mhm.
got out there, fought, and it's like you had to hang with everyone, and it's like, so you just build memories, and all of us have, I think, those memories, like us talking like this, it's like not a day has passed, it's like we suffered so much together, we built so much together, and I don't
Agreed.
know, I can't say that really any memory wasn't like a memory that's special to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because a lot of times people dwell so much on the negative side of things, but I do think that judo provided such a life enrichment for me. I learned so much from you as a person. Everybody had such a different personality and backgrounds were different. And every single person I feel like that was part of our generation raised me as a human being to some extent.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Um,
agree.
Last question. What did judo provide to you in regards to your sense of empowerment?
Um, I think judo was my ticket to life. I grew up with my dad died when I was 5, and my mom had a lot of mental health issues, and um, judo really gave me that opportunity to get out. And I think through having kind of like a hard childhood and upbringing, I just like I think a lot of us, judo gave us that. I didn't have a life in school, I didn't have a social life. My everything was in judo. My social life, my all of my experiences, everything came from judo. And that's like was my focus, right? Always it was like make the Olympic team, make the team. And so you do whatever you need to do, and everything else, you sacrifice everything else, obviously, to do, to complete your goal. And because of judo, I was able to, I moved away when I was 17 to the Olympic Training Center. I was able to have a group of friends like you guys that I looked up to and bonded with, and um, that I connected with. And I feel like it really saved my life.
Yeah, for sure. For me, it was more of a social thing. So when I was really young, I was incapacitatedly, to the point of incapacitation shy. My verbal skills, I were limited outside of the home, and I think that from the social dynamic, nobody was ever impatient with me. I would ask question after question after question. Why is this person doing this? Why is this person doing that? And nobody saw it as an intrusion or an annoyance. Everyone had that growth mentality. And that happens in sport, period. But I think that there is a specific underlining theme in judo about being your best self and trying to be your best self in all avenues of life. We worked hard, we played hard. And at the end of the day, those words of like moral support that you received every single day got you to a point of self-acceptance. And for me, that's what it was, is that I like was able to accept myself for who I was through judo and through people like you and Christina Netzos, growing up with her. Um, and like listening to the comedic factor that comes with all of these females in judo, kind of upped my ante of like, okay, well, if you're funny, then you get more friends. If you're it was just a different eye-opening experience altogether. And I'm on the same wavelength as you. Is like, if I can do this, I can do anything. And on top of that, your brain is like so stimulated by all of these wonderful human beings that you get to interact with,
Yes. And
including
when
you.
it's
I miss you.
I miss you so much. I miss you so
Same.
much. And I'll just add one thing to that. It's so true. And I feel like grappling in itself is it attracts a different type of person, right? There's like a joke in jujitsu that we have where it's like all the misfits come to jujitsu, and like we all find each other in jujitsu, right? And that's how we bond. That's how you become, and the people that you're gonna have the rest of your life are the people that you grapple with, not the people that you go to school with. It's like the people that you grapple with and suffer with, right? And it's like because we're all like from different avenues of life, and we're all the misfits that come together. And it's like you have to be kind of crazy to like judo or to like jujitsu, like someone trying to kill you, and that makes you thrive, right? And so there is something unique and special about like all of us and our personalities, and coming together. It's just we became like one strong force, right? So I felt the same way. It was like those are my people that I relate to, and I also
Yeah.
honestly feel like I don't relate to a common person. Like they have to grapple. Like those are people have they're the weirdos that I like. You know what I mean? The ones that grapple, that's like where my type of person is. It's not like the common person that's like, oh, I don't like to be sweated on or, be close to, or It's like, no, like try to choke me and kill me, and I love you.
It's an energy dump, right? It's like a
Yes.
dopamine dump that I think certain people whose brains are constantly thinking and putting things into patterns, and we need that, you know? So I think that's why the weirdos come out when it comes to grappling, is because all of us have like a story or a different way of thinking. And when you're there and you dump, not only does it calm you down, but it like you said, you're going through those dumping and hard times, that dumping adrenaline, excuse me, hard times that kind of bond you together when you go from a dump to a, I don't know, like we could have all this misplaced energy, but we put it into something where, yeah, you're trying to choke somebody out, but
Totally, totally.
nothing good
Like it's
about
something
that.
positive,
Yeah.
and good for you that we think is good and positive. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, totally, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for your time, and like I thank you for your influence on me as a human being. I hope one day there will be like a collective from every historical individual, female, that comes together one day, and we can all kind of be in the same room and share our empowerment and our motivations. And
Well, me too, Lauren. I love you so much. I'm so like
you,
happy that you're doing this, and it's amazing. You're inspiring, and I
yeah,
love connecting with you.
same. So again, tell them the exact city where they can find you, plug yourself, even though there's probably only like 20 people watching this.
I'm in Lakewood, Colorado. Again, it's called the Sanctuary Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Fitness, so you can find me there.
All right. And you will not regret it because Charlee is a beast. She's an absolute beast, and you will learn so much from her. So thank you again. Love you.
I love you.